Habits that I had when I used to be 300 pounds.
Hey bestie, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Bestie, like the video because it helps with my algorithm. So in today's video, we'll be talking about expert women share things they used to do which kept them fat. So I've put the stitches together so that you watch. I'll be back to share my true sense.
Habits that I had when I used to be 300 pounds. This habit was probably the hardest to break because it started from my childhood, and that is finishing every single thing on my plate. Only reason I was even able to break that habit is because someone once told me that when you leave a little bit of food on your plate, you're telling the earth, you're telling the universe that you are in abundance of food and therefore you will never go without food. It's like a superstition thing. So ever since that happened, I do not finish everything on my plate because I never want to be in a position where I can't afford groceries. Another bad habit I had was being distracted while I was eating. That turned into me mindlessly eating and me not listening to my body when I was full. So watching TikTok while I was eating, watching a movie when I was eating, literally doing anything instead of just focusing on my plate. I stopped eating meals on the couch in front of my TV. I make sure that I eat at my kitchen table and I'm focused on eating without distraction, and that has helped me so much. Last bad habit I'll talk about, but let me know if you guys want a part 3. Like I said in my original video, I can talk about these things all day because I had so many poor habits. That would be going to the grocery store when I was hungry because everything looked good and I would just throw everything in my basket, and then I would have all of these foods readily available for me at home and I would just eat them like nothing. I eat first and then I go to the store and I make way better decisions now.
You guys liked the last one so much. Here's a part 2 of crazy things that I used to do when I was fat. So this is really embarrassing, but I'm just going to share it. I don't care. A couple of years ago, I used to work in a cafe, and at the end of the day, we would have croissants, sausage rolls, some cakes, just things that we couldn't sell the next day. So when we would be closing, quite often we would have stuff left over, right? And I literally used to be I have 4 flatmates, I'll take everything home to my flatmates. Sometimes the other staff would take stuff as well. So I'd take a big brown bag, full of almond croissants, chocolate croissants, danishes, sausage rolls, loads of shit, you guys. On my walk home, it was 15 minutes, I would start munching at some of the things. And then I'd get home and I'd tell myself, I'd be I've munched at a couple of the things, I can't leave that for everyone else. They'll think that I'm gross because I've picked at a couple things. So I would purposely pick at it so that when I got home, I'd be I can't leave that out for them. They'll think that's gross. I would go up to my room, okay? I would sit in my room and basically, pick away at the whole bag. I'd eat sausage rolls, pies. There was always croissants, almond and chocolate croissants. I loved them. Sometimes there was brownies that we couldn't sell the next day. I would literally sit in my room and munch away at these things after work. Sometimes I did it multiple day after day. So I should have, oh my God, I was big. I was a big girl. But I'm how was I not so much bigger? Yeah, that's it. If you worked with me then and now you're hearing me say this, that's really embarrassing.
These are some absolutely unhinged things I used to do when I was 243 pounds overweight and gaining weight very quickly, which means I was eating a lot of calories because I was still gaining weight every day. First, when I went through the drive-thru at McDonald's or something, I would get 2 drinks so that it seemed like I was ordering for 2 people because I would order so much food that it seemed like it should have been for 2 people. So I was embarrassed, so I would buy 2 drinks so the person would think, oh, this is an order for 2 people. So I didn't feel as bad. Number 2, when I went to a restaurant with friends or family or whatever, I would never actually finish my food and I would be oh, I'm not that hungry. And then I would box up my food and I would literally eat the food on the way home and then go to a fast food place and pick something up and eat in the privacy of my home because I didn't want to get judged by people. So I would just not eat at the restaurant and then I would binge eat when I got home. Number 3, when I would park in a parking lot, I would have to get a spot close to the place that I was going to. I would literally circle the parking lot until there was a space available because I wasn't walking that far. I was going to be out of breath. Plus I had the kids, but mostly it was because I didn't want to walk that far. Number 4, eating in the bathtub after the kids went to bed and bringing a bunch of food. Like, it wasn't just like a little, cheese and cracker or like a little thing. I would have like a full glass of wine. I would bring the bottle up and then I would have like a full meal in the bathtub after supper because it's self-care. That was my way of having self-care. Also, when Zach would like go out with friends and stuff, I'd put the kids to bed and I would order so much Uber Eats, and I would just sit in front of the TV, watch horror movies, and eat until I wanted to throw up. That was my self-care. That was my definition of self-care. Eating as much food as possible while relaxing. And the sad thing is that I thought this was normal. I've lost 94 pounds since then. I am now at my goal weight. I'm in my MILF era. I'm healthy. My lifestyle has changed. I have energy for my kids. I feel amazing. I'm now teaching other women how to lose weight in a sustainable way, the way that I did. Okay, and this is what I teach my clients, the MILF method. Okay, move daily, intentional eating, lifestyle changes, and feeling confident. Okay, and this is how we get to where we need to be. Small habits leads to good progress. You shouldn't be doing these things. You shouldn't be embarrassed, okay? Do something about it. You deserve to feel like your best, and hiding like this and doing these types of things, it's sad, and you deserve better.
Not wanting your photo taken because you are overweight is the worst feeling in the entire world. I have a solid 8 to 10 transformation pictures over like a 5-year period of when I was overweight because I literally could not take a picture without crying. And in family pictures, I would cry. And when they would send them in a group text, I would just delete the group text because I would literally start crying. You deserve better than to feel like shit when you look in the mirror. You deserve better than to avoid family pictures and putting off big life events because you don't like the way that you look. You do have to keep in mind though that the weight loss industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. They take tons of money from people every year, but it's designed to keep you in the industry because they want you to keep spending money. If everybody just taught you the right way to lose weight, which is focusing on your mindset first more than anything else, there would be no reason for you to keep spending money, so they're not going to tell you that. This is why I'm making an entire course in your mindset for fat loss, because if you focus on your foundation, you're going to lose weight for life and you're not going to.
Let's talk about some things I used to do when I was 246 pounds. Since losing 100 pounds, I've looked back at my childhood and my teenage years, and the amount of embarrassing stuff I did to myself when I was 246 pounds for no reason is... I was in like my high school years and I was overweight and I would go shopping with my friends. I would always buy a size that didn't fit me. And now looking back at it, I'm like, it makes no sense because my friends knew I was bigger. Me buying a medium when I was an XL made no sense. And it didn't stop there because once I would come home and I had this medium shirt that was not going to fit my body, instead of returning it like a smart person would do, I would stretch the shirt literally until the seams were ripping. Or half of the time, I would buy these small sizes and then just never wear the shirt. I always convinced myself, oh, I'll fit into that someday. I just think now, like, girl, just buy your size. I was overweight and it was like summertime. I would be wearing a hoodie or a cardigan in the scorching 90-degree weather. For some reason, I was super convinced that me wearing a hoodie hid what my size. Mind you, I was a dumb teenager who just wanted to fit in, but girl, at what cost? Sometimes comments come from your own family when you're overweight, and something I believed from my family when I was overweight was that I could not wear any color besides black, and I could not wear stripes that went this way. And something that's so frustrating is now, even after losing weight, I still feel like I don't buy any colors besides black, and I don't wear anything that is striped horizontally. Something I used to be embarrassed about when I was overweight was ordering food. And anytime I felt like I was ordering way too much, I would fake that I was ordering something for someone else. I would start texting like while I was ordering and I was like, sorry, I just have to wait for their order. In reality, I was just ordering more food for myself and the cashier was probably thinking, girl, just finish your order. Now as an adult, I look back at all these scenarios and I'm like, I never had to do those things. A lot of the things that I thought were distracting people or thought that nobody would notice what I was doing, it only made them notice more. There are so many things I used to do when I was overweight and didn't even need to, but I'll talk about that soon.
Here are some things that I did when I was really fat, food edition. When I would pour myself a bowl of Lucky Charms, I would pluck out more marshmallows from the box and put them into my bowl. When I would go out to eat at any fast food place, I would always make sure to refill my soda before I left. When I would use the microwave at night, I would stop it at 1 second so it wouldn't make any more noise. When I would eat something, I would shove the wrapper farther down into the trash or cover it with something else so that no one knew what I ate. When I would get popcorn from the movie theaters, I would always add more butter. I used to sneak full-on meals into the movie theaters. I'm talking about In-N-Out, pizzas, sandwiches. When I would eat trail mix, I would only pluck out the M&Ms. When I would drop something on the floor, I would debate whether or not I should pick it up. I would never say no to free food, even if I wasn't hungry. I would only ever get family-sized bags of chips from the store. When I used to go to Hometown Buffet, I would go straight to the dessert.
4 of diabolical things I did when I was obese, and I'm going to be answering one of the questions that I get in literally every single one of my viral videos. How did you afford to be eating like that? I used to eat fast food 2 to 3 times a day for a good period of my life, and I also just ate a lot of junk, and people are always like, how did you afford to eat like that? So number 1, I was dating a guy that would buy me a lot of food, but number 2, I had a lot of credit card debt, literally buying fast food. Literally put myself in financial trouble because I wanted to eat fast food because I literally couldn't afford it. I was barely making minimum wage, and I was making close to minimum wage, and I was going out to eat multiple times a day. There's only one way that you can afford it, and it's not my actual money. Number 2, I would buy scales, like body weight scales off like Amazon. I would get them from Walmart. I would bring them home and I would weigh myself, and I'd be like, there's no way that I actually weigh this much. So I'd throw them away because I'm like, these scales don't work, because I wouldn't accept that like I actually weighed that much. 3, I literally stopped weight training because I was convinced that lifting weights was making me fat. Because what I would do is I would go to the gym, and my excuse was like, if I worked out, I can eat whatever I want. So I was gaining weight because I was lifting for like maybe a little bit throughout the day, like maybe like an hour long gym session, but then I would go home and eat like 5,000 calories. So like, no shit. It's not the gym that's making you gain weight, it's the food!
I thought were normal when I was extremely overweight. Using nearly a full bottle of tan to tan my body, or a full bottle of moisturiser when I got out of the shower just to cover my body. My heart rate getting up to 192 on a hike. Like, I know your heart rate can get high, but 192, that's nearly within like your maximum. Ridiculous. I remember having to stop so many times on this walk. I was so out of breath all the time. Going out for meals with people, eating all of my food, them leaving stuff and me still being hungry after having majority of the time starter, main, dessert, going home and still eating because I was still hungry. Having to stop if I was climbing more than 1 flight of stairs because I was out of breath that badly. The legs rubbing together within like 2 to 3 minutes of walking if I was wearing shorts. I get it, people's legs rub together, it can be normal, it depends on your hips, it depends on like the weight on your legs and stuff like that. But within 2 minutes, my legs were like chafing and they were so sore.
Here are some things that I used to do when I was really fat, food addition. I used to get 2 bags of chips and put them into one so that way no one knew I was eating 2 bags. I would get a bowl of Frosted Flakes and I would add a spoonful of sugar to the top. When I would make myself a bowl of ice cream, I would pack it down. That way I could add more ice cream into the bowl. When I finished my cereal and I still had more milk left, I would add more cereal to my bowl. When I would go to McDonald's, I would get a hamburger and fries, and I would put my fries inside my hamburger. When I used to order fast food, I would order food for the drive home and for when I got home. I used to eat so much that after I finished eating, I would end up throwing up because I made myself feel sick. I used to sneak food at night so that no one would see how...
Okay, by now you've all seen the video where I talk about the things that I used to do behaviorally to like not appear fat. But what I'd like to talk about is the things that I would say to justify or cope with being fat. My favorite one, and I see a lot of people do this, and I usually, whenever I hear it, but I used to always say, my labs are good. My blood sugar's good. My cholesterol's good. My blood work is fine, so I'm fine. Which is like, I don't think that people are lying when they say it, and I wasn't lying when I said that, but there are other metrics to health besides just your blood work and your all of those things, like the weight that you're putting on your joints, the lack of physical exercise, so on and so forth. Another one I used to say all the time because the people in my family were big was, oh, it's just genetic. We're just big boned. It doesn't matter if I try to lose weight or eat healthy. I'm just always going to look like this. Wrong, because so many people in my family have lost weight. It wasn't genetic at all. And like maybe the behavior was genetic, but the body composition doesn't have to be. That was totally a choice. This one's low-key depressing, but I used to always say, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Every time I made an unhealthy food decision, because it was like, I put an expiration date on my life basically and just said, fuck it, eat what you want, do what you want. Which was also a symptom of my depression at the time, but now I have a much healthier perspective, and like I want to be here for a good time and a long time, and I think I can achieve both. I'm doing okay. And I hope people can relate to this one, because I understand it's totally a hater thing, but I used to like differentiate myself from other fat people, specifically people that were fatter than me. So if I was with my friends, or even if I was just existing alone and I saw a big person existing, and I would always be like, oh, like at least I'm not that big, you know, or like, why would she wear that? That does not look good on that big of a body. Meanwhile, I'm on the upper half of the 200s. Like I definitely didn't have room to talk in my size 24 jeans. Like, hello? And then this last one was just the Lulu. I used to tell myself, because I was big, that means I have a big butt. And that makes up for everything. That absolves all the other parts of being fat. But when I was big, I was not round. I was not chubby. I was built like a door. Like I was rectangular. And my butt was also like, it wasn't voluptuous. It was just built kind of like the state of Kansas, I guess. And I used to tell myself, because I have a big butt, I'm fine. Girl, shut up. That, again, Delulu.
Something really weird that I did when I was obese is I would literally convince myself that I just had this like bad metabolism that I was born with, and that everyone else just ate as shitty as I did, and I was just like cursed. Like I just had like a spell placed on me, and I'm like, oh, everyone else can eat like shit, but I just can't, because I'm just like the outlier, and I just like don't, the law of thermodynamics does not apply to me. And like I literally thought that everyone was eating as horribly as me, and when I say that, I would eat fast food more than one time per day. I would at least have fast food once a day, and I thought that was normal. I thought everybody did that. I was fully convinced that like everybody would have like Starbucks in the morning, everyone would have like McDonald's for dinner, everyone would get lunch from out at work. Like I just thought that I was living a normal life, and everyone was just like magically skinny, and I was just like, something was going on with me, and I just wasn't the lucky one. I wasn't the lucky one. I have a bad metabolism, and this is just how my life is gonna be, and that just cannot be any farther from the truth.
As someone who grew up in a fat body, I can tell you that my fat phobia runs deep. Not only did I grow up fat, but I also had a father that was morbidly obese most of my life. And I will tell you that I'm not scared of gaining 20 pounds because I'll have to buy new jeans, or maybe I develop a health condition, because honestly, we're all developing health conditions by what we put in and on our bodies. But my fear comes from how I know people will perceive me, how I know people will treat me. Because the world is cruel when you are large. And if you've spent any period of time in a large body, you know exactly what I'm talking about. People dehumanize you. You're not seen as a coworker. You're not seen as a friend, a mother, a daughter, a father. You are simply seen as fat. That's it. Not as a person. And honestly, it's the most fucked up thing when you've experienced it. But honestly, how could I not live in fear to be perceived that way? How could I not live in fear of food after that?
I've been fat, I've been skinny, and I've had work done. This has been my experience being all three, because I don't think a lot of people get to experience all three in a lifetime. When I was fat, I had a lot of friends. I felt like I had to be nice and really funny, and that got me a lot of friends. And I think it brought out the best quality of people, because I wasn't seen as competition. I had a lot of gay friends, I had a lot of girlfriends. Dating wise, I had a lot of hoes, but I also had no standards and I had no boundaries. They wouldn't take me on dates, you know, they would talk about me to their friends poorly. The hoes were terrible in public, but very sweet in private. Then when I lost a bunch of weight and I was skinny, the shift in my friend group started being like, we don't want to hear you talk, just shut up and look pretty. Now dating, when I was skinny, I got a lot of sorries. There was a lot of people who treated me like shit when I was fat that were coming back like, oh my gosh, you look great. They wouldn't tell me I looked great. It was just like, oh, hey, I'm back. Let's go on a date now. So I ended up getting my body done. It wasn't because of anybody else. It was generally for my own happiness. I hated being skinny, not gonna lie. Got my body done, and friends started dropping like flies. And you know, I don't really blame the old friends for dropping like flies, because it's like now you're dealing with like a whole new person. I could speak my mind because I had a new confidence. I had a new ego. I had way more boundaries because I was learning to love myself finally, and it was just one more barrier that I didn't need to break down to be myself. The people I was dating grew, and it was a different caliber of men, but they also just want to show me off as a trophy. Going from not being attractive to conventionally attractive, you know, where people you date want to be seen with you because you're a source of currency, because attractiveness is a source of currency in society. They treat me really well in public, but behind closed doors, they are abusive. They try to humble you. Yeah, a lot of people everybody wants to humble you. If you look good, everybody hates you. And that's just been my experience so far. And it all comes back to just loving yourself. Like, there's nothing you can do. Love yourself. I love myself the most when
That's a video basis. I'm just here just to add on like what I think about today's video. So we're talking about expert women sharing things they used to do when they were fat. One of the biggest themes they mentioned is the way food was used as comfort. It wasn't about being hungry, it was about being bored, lonely, stressed, or emotional. A bad day at work or a fight with a partner often ended up with ordering takeout or eating snacks late at night. At first, it feels like a relief, but looking back, they see how using food as therapy was one of the main habits that locked them into a cycle of overeating. Many of them didn't even notice how often they reached for food without hunger because it became automatic. Another thing they often share is how little they used to move. A lot of ex-fat women will say they hated exercises and avoided at all costs. They convinced themselves they were too tired, too busy, or just not at the gym type. Daily activity was replaced with long hours, sitting in front of the TV or scrolling on the phone. Even small moments like walking, cleaning with energy, or taking stairs were avoided. This lack of movement paired with overeating was a recipe for weight gain, and they didn't even fully notice until years passed. They also talk about portion sizes. Many of them, they thought they were eating normal meals, but when they look back, the plates were loaded with more than the body needed. Eating until they were stuffed instead of satisfied was the norm. And what made it worse was the way meals were often centered around heavy carbs, fried food, or sugary drinks. It wasn't always fast food. Sometimes it was just home cooked meals with no portion control. What seemed love in the form of food from family or friends was actually feeding into an unhealthy cycle. Something else that came up again and again is denial. A lot of women admitted they simply didn't want to face the truth about their habits. They avoided scales, ignored how tight their clothes were becoming, and convinced them that their metabolism was just slow or that weight gain was out of control. That denial was comfortable because it meant they didn't have to make changes, but also kept them stuck. The turning point of many of them was finally being honest with themselves about that what they're really doing every day. Another big factor they share is late night eating. For many ex-fat women, the evening were the most dangerous time. The day might start with good intentions, maybe even a light breakfast or lunch, but as soon as the evening came, cravings would hit. They would eat dinner, then go back for snacks or watching TV. Then they had consumed a lot of calories after sun went down. That habit made them lose weight almost impossible because the body doesn't burn much energy at night while resting. A lot of them also mentioned how much they relied on excuses. I don't have time to cook health meals. It's so expensive to eat clean. I'll start next Monday. Excuses gave them permission to stay the same. They believed the situation was unique, so they couldn't change it. But when they look back, they realized that those excuses were just ways of protecting themselves from discomfort. Real transformation only begins when they stopped relying to themselves and admitted that change was possible if they wanted it badly enough. They also talk about sugar as a trap. Many expert women admitted they were addicted to it, even if they didn't call it at that time. Every day included soda, sweet, coffee, drinks, pastries, or candy. Sugar gave them temporary happiness, but it also caused cravings that never ended. The more they ate, the more they wanted. That cycle of sugar high and crashes was one of the most strongest chains that kept them overweight. And breaking free from it was one of the hardest parts, but also freeing thing they did. Another interesting thing they mention is how social setting influenced their choices. Many of them didn't want to say no to food at parties, family gathering, or dinner out. They would eat just because everyone else was eating, not because they were hungry. They felt guilty turning down food, especially when it was offered with love. Looking back, they realized they had to learn how to say no without guilty and how to make choices for their own healthy instead of pleasing everyone. They also reflect on the ways they avoided accountability. They did not track what they eat, they did not plan meals, they did not keep themselves in check. It was easy to just eat and forget about it. But the truth is, they made forget how